It's the most wonderful.
Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. A good December 1st to you. I'm joined by Dr. Michael Oren, former ambassador from Israel to the United States. He's the Wilson Center Joseph Gilderhorn Distinguished Fellow as well. He's also an expert on all things Israel. Dr. Oren, welcome back. There's a pardon application of sorts on the desk of President Herzog from Prime Minister Netanyahu. What do you think the President of Israel does with it?
I think he's going to try to issue it, but it's not going to be easy. Pardons have become very commonplace in American presidents. Certainly Biden did, Trump did. They're very rare in Israel. And this is a peculiar case because under Israeli law, in order to get a presidential pardon, a criminal or someone who's accused of criminality has to admit some form of guilt. And for a politician, that carries with it a stamp, which is strange to say in English, but is moral turpitude. Get that? Moral turpitude. Moral turpitude means that while holding office, I committed some type of extreme, grievous offense, and I cannot stand for office again. Netanyahu is not going to admit guilt, at least not guilt of a major criminality. He maybe could admit to a misdemeanor in accepting those cigars and champagne from friends abroad, a misdemeanor. It wouldn't even be that in the United States. But he'll never agree to moral turpitude, which means he won't be able to stand for office again. And Netanyahu, I think, wants to run next October. And if not, he would like to be the next president of Israel, which is an honorific title, but one he wouldn't mind holding. So I don't know how that happens. The one precedent that Bibi maybe can adduce is one that was issued by our present president's father, Chaim Herzog, in the year 1980, when members of the Shin Bet, our FBI, were accused of killing Palestinian terrorists who had been captured. And Herzog, in order to preserve national unity, gave them a preemptive pardon, even before they went to trial. So basically, the current president can make reference to his father's decision and say, this is an attempt to restore national unity, and I'm going to issue the same type of pardon that my father issued back in 1980. That is the only way I can see forward.
Well, now, Michael, you're old enough to remember President Ford pardoning Richard Nixon, and I went to work for Richard Nixon 4 years after that pardon was received. And boy, was it necessary for the country. And almost every historian, you're the real historian, I just read them, all agree that Ford did the right thing. But it took about 50 years for people to come to that conclusion. Do you share that conclusion?
Just a little bit of a plug. In the next couple of hours, you'll see an article by mine in the Free Press where I talk about the pardon. And I open up with the example of Ford and Nixon and how important that was for America for the healing process. And yes, the answer is, I think at the time, I thought it was the right decision. I was a young man then. But I remember saying, okay, we've got to put Watergate behind us. This is so divisive. And putting Nixon in prison for a year or two is not going to help anybody. And God knows if he can even be found guilty. So, I think it's important to put this behind us. The question is how. I do, however, feel that issuing a presidential pardon to Netanyahu should not mean that we will not have a state commission to investigate the failures of October 7th, because that is also an immensely, even more deeply divisive issue, which we have to address now.
All right, now can I turn to Syria, Lebanon, and Iran? I read this morning that don't be surprised if one, two, or all three end up hot wars before the end of the year. Would you be surprised if that happens?
No, will not. I will not. And the big question is not whether Israel makes that decision to preempt an Iranian attempt to rearm itself, to rearm Hezbollah, to weaponize Syria, and certainly the weaponized Syrian border around where Israeli forces are deployed. The big question is to what degree would the Trump administration back us? And so far, the Trump administration has been excellent in backing Israel's operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Syria, of course, is as they say, a horse of a different color, certainly of a different caliber. I think if the United States gives us a green light, and if that green light is a necessity, and we have the wherewithal to do it, Israel will act.
All right, now the Iron Beam was unveiled today, fully deployed. They said it was tested during the last war, but now it's operational. How much confidence do you have in that announcement, Dr. Oren?
It is a game changer. It's a brave new world. I'm going to make a prediction here. I won't live to see, but in the next 50 years, bullets will become obsolete. where this is the first example of a truly weaponized laser system that works, and it costs, Iron Dome costs between $60,000 for every interceptor, and the protocol called for firing two interceptors at every incoming rocket, which probably cost a couple of $100 at most. An iron beam blast cost about 50 cents, and so it's even economically a game changer, a total game changer, and it's interesting. From among the Hamas documents that we captured in Gaza, Sinwar was writing that we've got to launch this attack, this October 7th attack, before Israel deploys the Iron Beam, because that's going to change everything. And guess what? He's right.
Have you seen it in use? Did you see a demonstration of it?
I know.
We'd want that in a hurry.
It took down hundreds of drones from Hezbollah. So it works.
Wow.
Dan, it works. And that is a new world. That we are in the world of, of Star Wars, of lasers. How much time before it goes from the back of a truck into a handgun? And we know how fast that can happen.
And how fast until it deploys to U.S. aircraft carriers, which are pretty big targets, which they have rail guns and stuff like that. But given that they're the biggest targets in any superpower conflict, you'd want them to have. How big is the thing, Michael? Is it
about the size
giant?
of an iron dome? No, it's about the size of an iron dome. If you remember, if you can pick back what a Stalin's organs looked like in World War II on the back of a truck, that's pretty much what they look like. Usually, but the actual weapon, here's the difference. An iron dome is the actual interceptors and the launching for those interceptors, which look like an organ pipes, but next to it is a control center, and that is usually the size of a caravan. This operation seems to be all on one truck, which is quite extraordinary in itself.
Is there? We're almost out of time. Is there a name associated with it? Is there a individual who gets credit for this?
Yeah, it's Danny Gold again, the same wonderful engineer who was the mastermind, the pioneer of Iron Dome. It has a Hebrew name, Magen Or, which is a shield of light.
Wonderful. Dr. Michael Oren, thank you for joining me. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Follow him on X America. Read him in the Free Press. Well, I will. Well, he's talking about the pardon of my old boss. I want to find out what he says about that. Dr. Michael Oren on X. Michael Oren at the Free Press. Stand by. I'll be right back.
Portions of the Hugh Show are sponsored in part by Consumer Cellular.